Welcome to this edition of On the Scene. I'm your host, Tim Kelly. Today we're coming to you from the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge, a spectacular natural resource here in the city of Suffolk. We're going to highlight some of the things you can partake in when you come to visit the swamp. Additionally, we're going to spend some time with our Division of Tourism. And incidentally, they have a couple of events that take place throughout the summer here at the swamp, so we'll be talking about those, in addition to some other activities taking place in the spring and summer through our Division of Tourism. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Scene. We're now coming to you from the Suffolk Visitor Center, which again is a great place to be, great opportunity to learn all what's going on here in the city of Suffolk, a fabulous facility, and we'll have more on this great place a little bit later in this segment. But to kick it off, we're talking with Teresa Earls, who's our Tourism Development Manager, and Kevin Sari, our Visitor Center Coordinator, and they're going to join us today to talk about some great events that are going to be going on through the Division of Tourism this spring, this summer, and a little bit beyond. So Kevin, we're going to kick it off talking about the farmers market. If you could tell us a little bit about where that event is held, the dates and times, and then we'll get into some specifics.
Okay, we started the farmers market last weekend. April 20th was the kickoff for the season. We operate the market here at the Visitor Center Pavilion at 524 North Main Street. We operate it twice a week, Wednesdays from 3 to 6 and Saturdays 9 to 2.
Okay. Now, if you come out to the farmers market, what can you expect on a given day?
Okay, we have a variety of vendors ranging from produce to baked goods to crafts to wooden toys, kitchen utensils, and fresh cut flowers.
Okay. Now, in addition to the regular nights and days, of course, Wednesdays and Saturdays we already talked about, Teresa, one of the special things about the farmers market are special events and special days. And I believe y'all are going to try to do that once a month. Yes. Is that correct? If you could talk a little bit about that and what's going to make those days extra special.
Sure. Just like last year when we had different programs and themes throughout the summer and spring, of course, and even into the fall, where we had petting zoos and face painters and different exhibits. That's what we're doing this season, but we're trying to keep it on a schedule so it's really easy for everybody to remember. It's the first Saturday of the month. And you come out and there's going to be the teeny tiny farm petting zoo with the most cute little itty bitty animals that you can play with. For the opening day, we had a magician. We will have music on for Saturdays, and we'll be doing different things. So you may have, you know, the master gardeners coming out. You may have someone coming out to serve popcorn and hot dogs, and there's going to be a variety of different themes. Now, just because the bigger days are the first Saturdays of the month does not mean that you're going to miss activities throughout the month, because we have different themes set up for virtually every weekend. And I know Kevin has the list, but we have some wonderful things coming up, and we're trying to get the community involved. Have something to come look forward to every weekend. It's not just a place to get your fruits and vegetables on the way home, even though we certainly appreciate that.
Exactly.
But it's a chance to bring your family out, maybe learn how to grow your own garden, and bring the kids out, make a day of it, then spend the day having lunch downtown and going shopping. Going out and having a picnic at Constance Wharf, just something to get people out and about and around Suffolk.
And one thing, Kevin, before maybe you kind of highlight some of the special activities and events coming up, but really the fact that this is free, it's open to the public, so really it costs you nothing to attend.
Exactly.
Certainly if you want to purchase anything,
Sure.
well then there's some expense there. But really it's an opportunity not only to get fresh produce and get things that are grown in our local area, but it's also, Teresa, as you mentioned, a great way to get information.
Yes.
Because I believe, I've been here before, and wealth of information they can share with you. So again, if you're looking to eat healthy or do some things, I mean, they're not health experts, but at the same time, they could talk about their product and share some very interesting stories, I would imagine, correct?
We definitely have some organically grown farms and people that are really investing in a healthy community and trying to teach different people how to grow their own crops or their own food or just to eat in a different manner. We have new vendors this year that Sporganic
cultivations, which are mushroom vendors.
Which is totally different for us,
Right.
And unique. We have not seen that come through the market in all the years we've been doing it, so that's exciting. And we have people doing artisan crafts. So you're going to find a couple of people who are doing the jewelry that they typically have done the past couple of years, but we have someone coming in later in the season who's actually manufacturing her own polymer clay jewelry items and charms and things. So it's more of a handcrafted artisan feel.
Right.
And that's where we're really going. We have a lot of baked breads and jams and jellies and pickles and eggs and beef, and it's just, it makes me hungry thinking about it. But you know, Saturdays are a great time. We have plenty of parking. We're right across from the Hilton Garden Inn. We're catty-corner from McDonald's. We have lots of parking. There's almost always, music playing, whether it's live or, in the background. And like you said, there's lots of information here. We're already open 7 days a week, 9 to 5, but we see over 10,000 visitors through our visitor center every year. So we need to get people to come in and see what we're talking about here. Give them some ideas what to do with their family when they come in from out of town.
Well, Kevin, if you could highlight some of the upcoming special dates that Teresa talked about with some of the extra activities you have going on with the farmers market.
Sure. On June 1st, we have the first Saturdays at the market. We're going to have music by the Dirty Outfit. We'll also have the petting zoo, and we'll be talking about hurricane awareness with Captain Judkins.
Right.
Then June 8th, we have Grow in a Garden Day, and the Master Gardeners will be on hand to discuss gardening tips. On June 15th, we'll have an author, Patrick Evans Hilton. He wrote a book recently about recipes you can do with popcorn. So we'll have Popcorn Day,
Okay.
so we'll be passing out free popcorn to people attending the market. And on June 29th, we'll be having a Healthy Living Day where we'll have professionals come out and speak to customers about healthy living.
Okay. And of course, as we mentioned, not only are we going to have the great activities that just happen with every farmer's market, but you're going to have this great information and a variety of it. So again, if you miss one, you don't miss them all. Certainly come out and take part in the farmer's market. Now, shifting from the farmer's market to something that has nothing to do with the farmer's market, except for the fact that it's run through the Division of Tourism, the Ghost Walks in downtown Suffolk. If you could talk a little bit about that program and also maybe mention some of the age ranges, because I believe it's not really meant for the younger kids, but it's also not meant to be super scary, correct?
No.
Sure.
It is by far our most popular tour. It has surpassed our Great Dismal Swamp tour, even though that is still very popular. And Kevin over here, he tends to be a little modest, but he is one of the folks who leads the tour. And in fact, he wrote the tour after researching it for a couple of years. Worked with local historians and interviewed different business owners and homeowners to get some interesting tidbits throughout Suffolk, and did a lot of research. So it is definitely historical, but at the same time, there are some spooky elements. Especially, there's a little trip through Cedar Hill Cemetery. So anytime you're going on a ghost walk and you get kind of that feeling, it's gives you butterflies in your stomach.
Right.
It's not meant for children.
Sure.
We do say ages 9 and older, you know, it's recommended because it's a 90-minute tour,
Right.
and so sometimes smaller children just don't have the attention span.
Sure.
And when you're being led by a guide and there's between 15 people and 20 people, you need to be able to hear.
Right.
And sometimes children just don't understand that. So
Sure.
we welcome middle school age children.
Right. Sure.
To middle-aged children, adults.
We're all kids at heart.
Yeah, that's right. And almost everybody has a good time. I haven't heard anything bad about this tour. And in fact, it won a statewide award last year
Very
for
nice.
Best Heritage Tourism Initiative. So I have to give all the props to Kevin. But we do have tours coming up. It's not just around Halloween.
Right.
It's year-round. Originally it started as something that we did only in the fall, but based on the request,
Sure.
we've decided to do more. I know Kevin has the list of when our upcoming tours are.
Sure. We have a couple coming up, June 1st and June 15th, and those tours leave at 7:30 from the Visitor Center.
Right.
And we have August 3rd and 24th, also at 7:30.
Now, with these tours, I'm imagining you really need to make a reservation.
Yes.
That's key, because again, you need to know that you have enough room in the inn, so to speak,
Sure.
with the group. But talk about the reservation process, what the cost is as well, and really any other details related to that people need to know.
Sure. Cost is $10 for adults and $8 for children 9 and older,
Okay.
and $8 for senior citizens and military. They can call the Visitor Center, 757-514-4130,
Okay.
and make reservations there. We do require advanced reservations.
Okay. Okay.
And that also helps us because Kevin is not the only guide. We have
Sure.
another costume guide that we work with. And sometimes we get such a great response that we end up adding tours.
Right.
So just because you see this on the schedule doesn't mean that this was all we'll have to offer. This is what we're booking now.
I understand.
Based on the response, we've done between 2 and 3 a night. And then of course we have groups coming in, conferences, reunions, and they also request special private tours. We've done that as well.
So again, you can have things on demand, so to speak, based on the
Exactly.
need out there. Now, we mentioned it earlier, I believe it was brought up about the Great Dismal Swamp and what a great resource that is for the city of Suffolk. There's actually 2 things that are coordinated again through the Division of Tourism, and we could talk about those in the closing minutes we have on the program, a canoe tour and also a safari. So
Yes.
again, I'm going to let whoever wants to take those and kind of talk about what each tour is, and again, how we can get registered and make those reservations for those.
Okay. We do narrated bus tours, safaris, through the Dismal Swamp on scheduled Saturdays. Those tours run between 9:30 in the morning and about 1:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Takes you all through the Dismal Swamp, on a bus. The Canoe Tour we have usually scheduled for the last Saturday of each month, and we have a 14-passenger war canoe that our outfitter brings out to Lake Drummond and takes you on a little excursion around the lake.
And again, we're looking at reservations for both of those events, and that can be coordinated, of course, through here at the Visitor Center. Let's give that number one more time.
It's 514-4130.
Okay. And what are the costs for both of these?
The Canoe Tour is $35 per person, and that covers all of your equipment and anything you need. And the Dismal Swamp Safari is $10 for adults and $8 for children, seniors, and military.
Now, with both of those, would you actually start here at the Visitor Center and then be taken out? So you don't need to meet at the swamp, so to speak. Kind of everything's coordinated through here, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And Teresa, anything to add about those two events as far as to kind of spark someone's interest out there that's thinking the swamp, but the canoe or the tour sounds kind of interesting?
Yes, it does. And any chance to get on or near Lake Drummond is a great opportunity. I like to tell everyone that if you go to the swamp on a day where there's not a lot of wind and you look out at Lake Drummond, it looks like glass. And you cannot tell where the horizon stops. And it is one of the most breathtaking moments that you'll have, because you'll see the reflection of the trees. It's just gorgeous. And there are over 200 species of birds out there, and especially right now with the migratory bird population coming through, it's the perfect time to go to the swamp. And of course, I'm a critter lover, so you might see a river otter or a bobcat or a beaver, snakes, Kevin's favorite, turtles, all kinds of critters, butterflies. It's just this wonderful adventure. It's truly wilderness in your backyard. It's, we get the best of both worlds. We have the city, the small town charm, the more innovative city, and then we have the true wilderness. So I feel pretty fortunate to be here, and I want other people to come and enjoy that too.
And of course, one thing, and I think you mentioned about everything that you can find out there in the Great Dismal Swamp as far as with nature, and maybe you don't know that that's what this is, and that, but both of these are guided tours, and even in the canoe, you're still someone that's out there kind of leading you through. So again, you get a chance to learn a lot about what Suffolk has to offer in a nature perspective, of course, but also the fact that you've got someone that can provide information and answer questions. So,
especially with the bus tour, it's not just the nature side, it's the historical side. With the swamp being part of the National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom program, that's a part of it as well. So you get kind of an all-encompassing view of the swamp, and so you see what an important part is played in the development of our community. And so I suggest everyone take the tour, and I'm not just saying that because I work for tourism. But I will recommend that you get your reservations in and be prepared to come with cash or checks and make it really simple, and we don't have an ATM, so I try to warn people ahead of time when we do the farmers market even. Just put a few dollars in your pocket and you can take a whole bag full of groceries home, and you can hook up on a tour. You can do all kinds of stuff.
And again, all that's being provided through the Division of Tourism.
That's right.
Headquartered here at the Visitor Center, located at 524 North Main Street.
Very good.
And the phone number is
514-4130.
All right. So again, if you have questions, and again, if you don't even have to call, come on by. The Visitor Center advisors are always here, staff. So again, they can provide that information as well as you can find out a lot of other great information about the city of Suffolk and also the region as well. So Teresa, I want to cut you off. Get one more plug in.
Don't forget our website.
That's right. And that website is
Suffolk-fun.com, F-U-N, Suffolk-fun.com.
Good deal. All right, well, thank you both for being with us today and sharing this information. And of course, it's never a dull time here at the Division of Tourism with all these great events and activities going on. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Scene, joined now by Dolores Freeman, the Visitor Services Specialist here at the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge. And we're here to talk about the swamp and the unique resource that it is for the city of Suffolk as a tourist attraction and certainly just a way to get out and enjoy nature as well. And Dolores, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Let's start out talking to folks about the fact that what kind of a resource do we have here? What is the size of the swamp? And all the different means by which people can access it? Because we're here at the headquarters today.
Yes, we
are. And that's a great place to start. Again, we've got a lot of resources here to be found. But what other opportunities do people have? And that's a lot of questions right there, so I'm going to let you go and take it from there.
Well, the refuge is very large. It's 113,000 acres, which is sort of difficult for most people to envision.
Right.
I tell people, if you think about it's triangular shaped, and it's about 20 miles north to south, and it averages about 8 miles east to west.
Okay.
So that's a very large segment of land. When I have school children come, to try to put it in reference for them,
Right.
I say if you take the whole city of Norfolk area-wise and the whole city of Portsmouth area-wise, combine them together, the refuge is still 1/3 larger
Wow.
than that. So that gives you an idea of the
Correct.
land mass.
Correct.
One of the reasons it's very special and very important is because that's contiguous forest. There are no highways passing through it. We do have dirt roads and ditches,
Sure.
but there's nothing that breaks that habitat down into smaller segments.
Correct.
So that's a major importance of this refuge.
Now, again, as I noted, we're at the headquarters, and the headquarters is located.
At 3100 Desert Road, Suffolk.
Now, in addition to the headquarters, there are other means by which the public can access the
Yes,
swamp. Is that
yes,
correct?
definitely.
Right.
And as you said before, it's not necessary that visitors come to the headquarters
Correct.
to visit us. Many of our local residents and the people that visit us from elsewhere will find the Washington Ditch entrance is a great place to stop.
Right.
That's about 2 miles north of the headquarters
Okay.
on White Marsh Road. At the Washington Ditch entrance, you have a boardwalk trail that is accessible. It is approximately 3/4 of a mile long. It has benches along the way, so it provides an opportunity for many people to take a walk. It leaves directly from the parking area and leads you back around. So it's great for families, even if you have a stroller.
Right.
You know, it's just a good place to start. The genius about when that boardwalk was put in is that it goes through a representation of different habitats found in the swamp.
Right.
So it's a good place to get an overview of what we're like, what
Correct.
our habitat's like. You also have at Washington Ditch, you have a trail that adjacent the ditch, which was named after George Washington, pre-Revolutionary War,
Right.
when he was a major landowner here. And the purpose of the ditch was to drain the swamp. But that ditch now has left us a nice trail that goes all the way to Lake Drummond, and it's 4.5 miles each way, which is significant for some people.
Correct.
But it's a great bike riding trail, and that's if someone calls me and wants to know where to go bike riding, I usually send them to Washington Ditch
Got it.
Trail.
Okay.
That's a great place to go bike riding. We also have the Jericho Ditch entrance, which is up at the northwest corner of the refuge, just off of East Washington Street, actually, not too far. The turn-in for it. There's a gravel road there that
Sure.
you turn in. The parking area is about 2 miles deep into the forest.
Okay.
So you're going a considerable way in. And there is a whole group of trailheads that come together up there. Those trails are very long. Most of them are, I would say, average 3, 4, 5 miles
Okay.
in length. And some of them you can make loops out of them. It's a little more primitive up there than the
Right.
Washington Ditch area, but that is the premier site for the birders. That's where they want to go to do their
Right.
spring birding. Another entrance that we have is just adjacent to the headquarters here. And this has become one of the favorite ones because it's an auto access.
Got it.
So if you're not able to do the 4.5 mile bicycle ride or any of the other long trails,
Right.
you are able to come to the railroad ditch entrance. It's just about 100 yards south of the headquarters on Desert Road.
Right.
We now have an electronic gate there that rises every morning at 7:30, Monday through Friday, and it closes at 3 o'clock. You don't have to be out until 4, but we need to make sure that everyone's out and safe before
Correct.
we leave. So that's the reason we have it closing earlier. There's a self-permit at the gate, so you don't even need to come into the headquarters
Okay.
anymore. Local people are used to that, used to be the
Sure.
way. So we've tried to make it a little easier for the
Nice.
visitors.
Nice.
And that route will take you all the way to Lake Drummond. It goes by a couple of new features. We have the Underground Railroad Education Pavilion that's on that route. And then we have another short boardwalk, the West Ditch Boardwalk, that goes back to a 100-year-old cypress tree.
Nice.
So there's an open marsh along the way with a beaver lodge directly beside the road. And so
Yeah.
that's very popular for us too.
Now you mentioned, as far as with the auto access with that particular entrance, the fact that you don't have to check in at the headquarters here, but that's accurate?
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
But as far as accessing any of the swamp and with the multitude of entrances that are provided, is there any notification that needs to be made, or really generally there are hours that the public can access it at their own leisure?
Good point. Yeah. Yes, the public can access any of the trails for hiking and biking 7 days a week from sunrise to sunset.
Okay.
And they don't need to contact the refuge headquarters.
Got it.
Feel free to, if you want more information
Sure.
or you have any concerns, and we'll be glad to answer your questions, but it's not necessary.
Okay. Now, one thing about the swamp is that it is definitely nature in its natural environment. Pardon a bad pun right there, but the point is, we reflect back to fall, or actually early fall of 2011. Of course, the fire that hit here, and if you're in the swamp, can you tell that there was a fire really just not even 2 years ago? And how has the swamp really started to evolve and to, if you will, come back? What has that process been like so far?
The swamp is used to having natural wildfires on a regular basis. Most of them, though, are small.
Right.
If our water table is at a normal level, a typical lightning strike may set a tree on fire. It might burn an acre, 5 acres. Those recover rather quickly. The unfortunate situation with the 2011 Lateral West fire that you were referring to is that it burned so intently over such a large area, and in an area where in 2008 had burned previously with another bad fire. It is now a 6,400 acre fire scar. If you take the auto tour to the lake, you actually drive through a major section of it. And now it is open. It is a vast open area. There is vegetation coming back. It's more marsh-like than it was previously. So a lot of the vegetation is more typical marsh vegetation. There is a little bit of hardwood starting to come back, so it is recovering.
Right.
It's very interesting to see how it changes. In that area, we lost in some places, or an average between 3 to 5 feet of elevation, which changed the habitat significantly.
Right.
So it's interesting for us to see what is coming back.
Sure.
And we're doing a lot of monitoring in the area. One thing that a good benefit from it was we're noticing a lot of birds that typically were not often seen on the refuge, coming back in large numbers there. And so that's a little exciting for those that, find that interesting.
It's really amazing how nature really has that resiliency to bounce back, and the evolution and the changes that you see. And certainly with you working out here on a daily basis, you get a chance to really get a feel for really what's coming. And you mentioned some of the new birds that are kind of come to the area that we haven't seen before, especially, as you noted, in large numbers. And birds, and I'm going to transition with this real quick. We recently had the birding festival that was out here, a huge success. But there are a couple of other events that go on a relatively routine basis over coming months. The bird banding. If you could talk about what that is, and if someone comes to partake in that and see, what are they going to experience?
The bird banding program is part of a national survey, and it's been taking place here for 25 years. The station is up in the Jericho entrance, about a half a mile south of the parking area, so it's accessible to almost anyone.
Right.
The schedule for it has regular scheduled days throughout the summer, and the banders are there from 7 a.m. until 11 a.m. as long as weather's permitting.
Right.
And the public is welcome to come. We have a type of special netting to capture the birds with, and then the birds are examined. If they don't have a band, they're banded. Data is collected on them as of their health condition, sex, age, whatever. And it provides a long-standing record. It doesn't, to show trends.
Right.
We would worry if there was some obvious change in the number of a certain species that was collected, or if the health of a certain species,
right.
or if a species wasn't collected that we expected to be collected.
Correct.
So it's looking for big trends, but it's a very interesting way to see a bird not in your hand, but in the hand of someone right next to you as they're examining them. So
Correct.
for birders, it's a great learning experience, or for children also.
Right.
It's a great place to take children to watch and see what's happening, to get them interested in the nature.
Now, if someone's watching this program and they'd like more information, now you have a great website, and we're going to have that address up on the
Okay,
screen.
great.
But, excuse me, what is a good contact number?
The refuge office here is 757-986-3705.
Okay.
And if you want to ask for me, it's Dolores Freeman, or anyone else can help you also.
Okay. Well, Dolores, thanks for being with us today to talk about the Great Dismal Swamp. And of course, the beauty of it is we probably only scratched the surface of what
Yes,
we could really
we
get
did.
into.
Yes, we
We'll
did.
have to come back and get with you again to talk about some of the other things. And of course, there's always events going on at the Great Dismal Swamp. Check out their website. Again, a great resource to see kind of what you'll find when you come here, whether it's on just a generic visit or if you're coming for a specific event. Again, a great resource to view. Thanks for watching this edition of On the Scene. We'll see you next time.